big news. This one is actually huge because another super pet peeve of mine. I have a lot of pet peeves out. There are a lot of things. I'm an angry black man, and I wear it proudly. I am an angry black man. So one of the other things that's recently changed that I find extremely fascinating and a good change. I have to admit that it is a very, 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 very good, well deserved, and much needed change is to the Oscars voting process. It has been much aligned, and this is not just for the Oscars, the Emmys, the Golden Globes, the Grammys, the BET Awards, the MTV. Pick an award show, right? I take issue with a lot of them because they're usually not an objective measure of what's actually good or deserved. But specifically with the Academy, because it has gone on record. People have stated this publicly, outright. This particular thing, hold on, of how do they vote? How and why do they vote for certain things? And it is for various reasons. It is sometimes political, right? So like I vote for this person this year, or we vote in a block. We're affiliated with something. Somebody's cooking barbecue. It smells so good. I'm sorry. So like we're affiliated in some kind of way with this particular thing. So we want to go for them for this one. So that way in the next season they vote for us, or the next whatever they vote for us. There's lobbying that happens behind the scenes. Managers, executives, producers are all talking to each other, talking like, hey, let's get this going. This is a good film. Come see it. Da, da, da. Like they'll actually like do some politicking. Um, I'm not gonna go as far to say is that there's 100% quid pro quo, right? I'm assuming there is some level of, you know, scratching backs, but not full on quid pro quo, which is a little bit different. Um, I'm not gonna say there's no bribery. I'm not gonna say there's bribery, right? But one of the things that has been stated publicly that I personally is like, how do you have this is not an objective or a fair measure? Um, is the fact that people have gone on record to say, I am a voter for this category, yet I have not seen all of the projects in this category. To me, that is insane, right? Like, how can you vote on something if you have not actually looked at it? How can you objectively say that one is better than the other if you have not actually compared the two? You're only voting for, so basically, you're voting for the thing that you have seen, or the thing that your friend is in, or the thing that your other friend is voting for. So it's like one of those things of like, what does any of this actually mean? And when it comes to specifically black and brown creators and directors, producers, actors, whatever, um, um, music artists who work on soundtracks, et cetera, is that we tend to be at a disadvantage because we know that they're not going to see our movies often, or they're not going to give it the same level of respect because they're not as friendly with those folks as they are with the larger, more white stars. Because again, most of the academy is white still. Keep it a buck. So all of those things play into that particular fact of why do folks actually make their votes and make their decisions. So the fact that this has changed is crazy. Like it's insane to me that this has not been already a thing. Like just for free and fair and like good and welfare of the actual system of movies. Like, why is this in Spanish? So I'm actually trying to understand why the ads are in Spanish. Um, so yeah. So let's look into it. Let's get into it, y'all. A major shift for Oscar voting protocol, the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences has announced that the members will not be required to confirm they watched all nominated films in a category before being allowed to vote in that race. Um, the initiative aimed at strengthening the integrity and credibility of the awards process because it has come under a lot of justified fire. Like this is the word I was looking for: integrity and credibility. There is no integrity in this current process, or the one that's now being replaced. Combines digital tracking through the Academy screening room with member-reported viewings, building on a structure already familiar to Academy voters. I'm unfamiliar with this one. Okay, so I guess it's probably like a space, a docket that you go into to like actually watch the film, which would make sense like a portal. So, beginning with the 97th Academy Awards, ballots during the final voting phase will only unlock for members who have verified they watch all nominated films in a given category. This requirement applies across all 24 competitive Oscar categories from Best Picture and the acting race to costume design, the newly introduced award for casting. Oh, the cast. Oh, that's a nice award. Okay. The Academy will track viewership through its exclusive members only streaming platform. Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Any film watching full on ASR is automatically recorded and applied through the voters' eligibility. For films viewed outside the platform at a guild or academy screening festival, theatrical showing, or private event, members must submit a simple online form stating when and where they saw the film. These forms operate on an honor system, a practice that the Academy has already used for years in specialty categories such as internationals, animated, documentary, and three short film races. Okay. But why it's happening? This is super important. Kind of just talked about it. The goal seems clear: reduce what's known as coattail voting. Will voters support a nominee based on reputation, buzz, or familiarity, often without having seen all of the competing films? This can result in overlooked performances and artisan achievements that simply didn't get enough exposure. So I like that there's a term for it. I didn't know there was a term for it called coattail voting. Basically, yes. Like, and this is also why this is gets into the politics of the industry. Studios will put out films at certain times of the year because relevance also plays a part in that coattail voting thing. I forget when the season of voting happens for the academies or the Grammys or whatever. But let's say that awards voting, all the nominations happen and the voting happens between July and September, right? And they give out the awards in October. That means there's going to be a certain part of the year that all of the basically um Oscar bait movies is what they call them are going to be released in, like, let's say anywhere from like 4 to 6 months before the voting starts, or 3 to 4 months before the voting starts, because you want that buzz. You want people to be talking about your movie still. Such a great movie. Oh, this is the best movie ever. And in that way, they will have your movie front of mind, but another movie that's pretty damn good deserving, they've forgotten about already because it came out 8 months ago instead of 3 months ago. So object permanence also plays a role into this, which is, you know, just not good, guys. Just go and like actually objectively watch and listen, right? It's not that difficult to be quite honest. Um, so by requiring a full viewing of all contenders in a category, the Academy hopes to promote more informed, equitable voting, especially for smaller films that might not have massive marketing budgets. And that's the other part. It's the again, object permanence also requires you folks to just be aware of it. So massive marketing. Sinners is a great movie. It also has a really good marketing machine right now in terms of like what we just watched. Ryan Coogler breaking down the types of film, and then also imploring people to not just like watch the movie, but to also watch it in these different aspect ratios. So if you're a regular film goer, you're gonna be like, "Oh, this is cool, good movie. All right, great." If you're like me, a goddamn nerd, we're gonna be like, "Oh my god, IMAX. Oh, 1273. Oh, 246." No, one aspect ratio, like 70 millimeter versus the 35 mil. Like, what are we gonna watch? So like all of those, little things get in people's ears. Um, and to those worried about ASR tracking their viewing habits, welcome to the internet. All streaming platforms track your watch history. Have you heard of the algorithm? That's actually hysterical. That's actually hysterical. But this is also like blah. This rule affects only final voting and not the nomination phase. So this is an example that they provided. If the member watched only the 10 Best Picture nominees, so Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emily Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, Substance of Wicked, they would already be eligible to vote in 5 categories: Best Picture, Director, Actress, Supporting Actress, and Film Editing, because that's what those for. Have I seen the movie Trap? No, I have not seen the movie Trap. What is it about? I'm trying to find some good movies to watch. I think I saw it. No, that was Drop. Um, so I did not see anything about it. Who's it by? I'm looking it up. It seems like it's on Netflix. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. I am not gonna lie to you, brother. M. Night Shyamalan has scarred me a little bit with Avatar. I still haven't forgiven him. All right. I see now this is how coattail voting works. I'm gonna have to take his recommendation and actually give this movie a watch. It's on Netflix. I have Netflix, so I could watch it. What is it about? A man and his teenage daughter realize that the center of a dark and sinister event while watching a concert. That's interesting. Yeah, but I watched. I will. I was just about to. I was just about to say, let's watch the trailer. I'll watch it as soon as we get through the rest of this. Because I do find it like very, very fascinating. Let's see if there's anything. So yes, this does go into effect immediately. So this is the new voting platform. It is immediate. Um, but I don't have time to watch every movie. What happens now? You're an actor, buddy. You got a lot of time, bro. While a handful may grumble privately, Academy leadership maintains that the rule reflects a broader cultural shift within the organization, one towards accountability, fairness, and honoring excellence in a truly informed. Shut up. Lofty goals. Those are lofty goals. I appreciate that. Good job, Academy. And with screeners, virtual Q&As, and digital forms readily available, there's really no excuse to leave everything until the last minute. They will anyway. And at the core of the policy is a simple belief: if you haven't seen the films, you shouldn't be voting. Yes, yes. If you haven't seen the films, why are you voting? Like, what do you mean? Don't vote, bro. Um, I actually, so I want to know, and I don't know. Oh, so the Oscars are going to take place on March 15th. Okay, so they're voting now, probably. I think they're voting now then. So now I actually want to see this year what actually happens with the Oscars based off of this, right? Because if we look at some of these movies, um, Dune Part Two, I think had a great run last year, or Honora. Honora's newer, and Amelia Perez are both newer, so they're gonna get probably buzz. A Complete Unknown, I don't think most people really know too much about, unless you're like a movie buff. But Wicked is also just a fan favorite. So truthfully, like, because Dune came out a while ago and it's already gotten its hype and its buzz, Nora, Amelia, and Wicked would probably be the three that I would have normally expected to win. Just going off of like how people vote. But that might actually change this year. So I'm actually very curious to see. I might actually pay attention to the Oscars. And if this actually works, and we see that, like, hey, how many Academy members are actually voting and completing and saying that they watched all of the films before voting, if those numbers look good, do we see the other unions and such go to this? Do we see the Grammys? Because we know the Grammys be on some BS, brother. We know the Grammys be on some BS, right? And on top of that, they also are biases, right? Like, somebody's literally like, oh, Beyonce's won enough awards. She doesn't need any, like, so there's also that bullshit to contend with. But by and large, does this change anything? Because objectively, if you haven't listened to Beyonce because you think she's won enough, then you're not voting fairly. But if you listen to her, maybe that might change your mind. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very fascinated